Good morning, Gamecock fans. Today's Monday, November 24th, the year of our Lord 2025. This is Coffee with JC Shurburtt. A brighter Monday, if you will, folks. The Gamecocks won in impressive fashion, 51-7 against the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. Gamecocks go to 3-0 all time in the series against the other FBS team in our state besides Clemson. Of course, that game's this weekend. Everybody's excited about that and fired up. You get one more shot at this thing this year. Gamecocks are 4-7 now. Best I can say about this game, and we talked about it last week. Nobody's going to jump up and down and say, "Oh my gosh, you beat Coastal 51-7." You know, uh, gosh, let's build a statue outside the stadium. I mean, it's just that was a team that I felt just looking at them on defense was very overmatched in the game, and sure enough, from the first play on, they really had problems stopping the Gamecocks. 579 yards of offense for Carolina. They emptied the bench, and uh, Bradley Dunn gets a touchdown again on that senior day. I think he got one against Wofford last year, and that was good to see. To put them over half 100. Gamecocks built a 37-0 halftime lead. And, second half, with the exception of the punt block, which I agree with Shane Beamer, it was just like, man, why now? And Brady Hunt, I think, was the culprit on that, who, by the way, had two rushing touchdowns yesterday in this. It's not the tush push from what Beamer said, but it's some kind of thing they're doing inside. Very creative, aggressive, creative, and fun, right? That's what the offense needs to be. And I think he missed a block on that or blocked the wrong guy, and they got through and blocked it, and that was Coastal's only touchdown of the game. So the defense pitched a shutout. And that's good because Coastal can score. I thought when you look at the stat line, Tad Hudson from Coastal Carolina really had one of his better games accuracy wise, but South Carolina's secondary, and this is going to be important for Clemson because it's kind of a similar style system. A lot of short passes, that kind of thing. Klubnik likes to sling it out to his guys. I mean, but I thought the secondary bottled them up pretty good. 4.8 yards per completion is not a stellar number. And he was actually way more accurate than I thought. Coastal could not run the football at all. They tried some trick plays, which the Gamecocks snuffed out. Just a overall good team win. Williams-Brice connected on a 47-yard field goal that was right on the money. Mesa did have the punt blocked, but punted well otherwise. Gamecocks not much in the return game, but they didn't really have a ton of opportunities there. So a good overall win for the Gamecocks. I think that was much needed. I'll start breaking down the offense. And Mike Furry again had some imagination in the game plan. I don't think they used everything in this one, but Lenore Sellers looked like Lenore Sellers, 16 for 20. He's usually in the past been very accurate like that. 274 yards, two touchdowns, no picks. One of those passes could have been picked, but it wasn't. I think Cutter Woods, Luke Doty, Aaron Nolan all got in and went a combined 7 for 11 for 41 yards. Not too shabby there with the backup quarterbacks playing. Good to see Cutter out there competing. He's been had a really good season of development. Aaron Nolan looked pretty solid. Left-handed quarterback, a little strange watching it, but he completed some. He's got a good arm. Ball comes out good, and great to get Luke Doty some snaps on senior day. He's done a lot of good stuff for the program. But I thought the game plan was imaginative. I mean, we've sat here and talked all year about going quick game, and that's exactly what the first play of the game was. The theory with offenses through the years has always been, well, it's a 4-yard out pattern on the perimeter to your receiver. That's as good as a 4-yard run. That's kind of the base philosophy when we go back through football history and you talk about the run and shoot or the air raid or any of these passing offenses. that's kind of the philosophy there. It's just a short pass, just as good as a run play, and it is. It's true, and that actually takes people out of the box, because there are a lot of crowding the box. Even South Carolina State did that with success, and Gamecocks aren't really playing that game anymore offensively. So hats off to Mike Furry for fixing it and having a game plan that I thought made sense, and the play calling made sense. Second half, Gamecocks, didn't. I mean, 37 points in the first and 14 in the second, and one was there at the end with Dunn. But there's 6-minute drives and things like that, and if Carolina had had that success against A&M in the second, I mean, there were only two possessions in the third quarter. Coastal dinked and dunked their way to 15-play, 58-yard drive. It melted 6 minutes off the clock, and the Gamecocks stopped them on downs. And then Carolina, 13 plays, 83 yards for a touchdown. That melted 6:33 off the clock. So the third quarter went fast. So I think there was some adjustment there. I mean, just to be honest, Jawarn Howell had a big run. Third quarter got a little sloppy with penalties. The middle eight offensive line penalties, not really, were not welcome developments. There was a hold. Boaz Stanley had another pre-snap false start, which was unbelievable, but not much to complain about there. I think the South Carolina offensive line has come uh, pretty far since Sean Elliott took over. Same with the entire offense. So they're kind of getting the suspect coaching out of the way, in my opinion. That'll be very important this weekend because Clemson's coming in with a 3-game win streak. They beat Furman, kind of similar to the Carolina game. They got up 31-0 and then emptied the bench, and everybody's feeling happy because backups got in and scored and played well and got everybody excited. So um, the difference is their previous two games, they beat Florida State and beat Louisville. Now, how good are Florida State and Louisville? Did you watch the Florida State NC State game? Whoa, that was tough for them. That was just a team that did not look like they cared, and you could tell by fumbling and stumbling around. And the Wolfpack beat them, and then it was Friday night, and then Louisville just gets tattooed by SMU. It's amazing to me Louisville cannot throw it down the field with Miller Moss. Just crazy. Um, but Clemson is on a 3-game win streak. I think we all kind of felt like it was coming. They're going to come in confident. Dabo emphasizes this game just like Shane Beamer does, and the Gamecocks have not done too well at home against the Tigers. Really, what is it, 2025, more than a decade. It's been outside of that 2015 game when they were number one in the country and Sean Elliott's group kind of scared them to death, 37-32. Scoring has been, I mean, 17. They got a garbage touchdown when it was over. It's 34-0 or 34-3. In 19, they got a field goal in the second quarter. There's meaningless, no touchdowns there. They got shut out in 2021. And then in 2023, they held Clemson without an offensive touchdown. Scored the only significant touchdown they've scored in the rivalry game since 2015. Luke Doty on a reverse there in the first half that tied it at 7. And it was a Clemson's kicker hit, and Clemson's kicker is good again this year. Not the same guy, obviously. Clemson's kicker hit, long field goals, and they kind of bled them to death in a 16-7 win. So I think it's going to be a good game, and especially if Carolina can continue to play offense like this. So continuing with the offensive performance, a little disappointed. Jawarn Howell got 3 carries, but he got the start. I sort of said going into the game, I felt like because Coastal's defense was just so suspect, I felt like, well, it just kind of depends on how the game flows. And, Carolina scores in one play, the first possession. And so then you get into your rotation. But he made some things happen, had a 36-yard reception, a 16-yard reception, and 3 carries for 18 yards. I really, when you look at him, the possibilities there are exciting. One of his longer runs, it was a 9-yard run. Looked like he was done in the backfield, and he kind of stutter stepped and paused and was a patient runner and then bounced out around the edge. I don't know if you can do that against a better defense or not, because it seemed like there was about a second and a half that he paused there. And sometimes you're a sitting duck, but he bounced outside for a nice game, and then good hands and good acceleration on the 36-yard completion. Rasul Faison ran it well. Had his, I keep saying this, at one point, some point, Faison's going to break a big run for you. He did it against A&M. He did it this week at a 46-yarder. 5 carries, 57 yards. Matt Fuller, um, really a good day for him, kind of coming back and breaking some and using his acceleration. And Attaway and Dunn got in there at the end. And I mentioned Brady Hunt, 3 carries, 3 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That's it's interesting goal line thing. But I'll say this, hey, look, this team struggled to score so much. I mean, when you get down there, just try anything you can. I mean, why not? And Brady Hunt was a high school quarterback and was taking snaps under center. They've actually, in the Kentucky game last year, they tried to sneak it in and kind of do that, and you never saw it again. But hey, whatever gets you in the end zone, in my opinion, is that's just how I feel about it. I mean, it's something else. Lenoris running the ball. I do want to talk about this. He looked more like the Lenore Sellers we've expected all year. I mentioned the slide and the running out of bounds and stuff last week. And I said I felt like he's leaving yards on the field. I'm pretty sure he doesn't listen. So I think I was just maybe pointing out the obvious, but he looked to turn it up yesterday and get yards. And, not saying he never ran out of bounds. I don't remember him sliding in the game, but he was looking for those extra yards, and that's extremely positive. And statistically, he led all rushers. Gamecocks 264 yards rushing, but 8 carries, 82 yards, and 2 touchdowns. The 2 touchdowns are the most important part because obviously your quarterback's a weapon when you get down close if he can run and throw. And an example of that was Donovan Murph's touchdown. Murph, 4 catches, 58 yards, really good day for him. Lenoris rolls out and you get him. One of the other things about Mike Furry that he's doing a lot differently, that he's not worried about the pocket. He ain't worried. He's not worried about Lenora Sellers sitting in the pocket and throwing the ball, which I thought was not a good plan, not a good idea. I don't mind it if he's in the pocket some, but moving the pocket puts the defense more in conflict because you don't know what he's going to do. And sure enough, he's rolling out. Looks like it's going to be a run. They're chasing him, and boom, Murph's wide open in the back of the end zone. He recognizes it, fires it in there. Beautiful pass and a touchdown. And the more success that happens for Donovan Murph, the better, because he's going to be really, really good, really, really good. Can't say enough about Pup Sellers, Jaden Sellers. He's very, I don't know that I realized how fast he is. I mentioned about his brother and the quarterback having the operational tempo of the game. And for a quarterback, operational tempo is that. But receivers and backs and skill guys too have to have that tempo. Like they're playing as fast as the game is going on and trying to be faster. Sometimes guys that are hesitant or frustrated or they don't know quite what to do or they're just not very good, they won't try to outrun the game, if that makes sense. And Jaden does that. I mean, he's just a young guy that's come on and, shout out to Bruin and everybody over at South Florence because, they were saying this guy is going to be, Pup's going to be really good. He's overshadowed because of his last name a little bit and he's a different position. But I mean, gosh, he's young. He looks young. He looks like just a kid out there. So Jaden Sellers, I mean, what a good, uh, what a good thought for the future that he is really coming on and playing well. Another state of South Carolina wide receiver. I mean, since Oklahoma, it didn't get anything, no stats against Ole Miss, but 17 catches for 270 yards and a touchdown for him, and 5 carries for 26 yards. So he's becoming a weapon, and hopefully, he's from South Carolina, so he knows what the Clemson game means. But just happy for him and the Sellers family. It's obviously had to be a tough year. Anytime you're the quarterback on a team that struggled, it's tough. But offense looked really good, even when they emptied the bench. Defensively, I'll say this, folks. Beginning of the year, I was Mr. Justin Uncle is better than Sean Murphy, and I still believe that. But Sean Murphy has been, and it's unfortunate because the Marcel Reed 4th and 12, and every play in a game like that uh, with against A&M gets magnified because you blew a 27-point lead and you lost by 1 point. So, yes, all those plays are going to get magnified. But Sean Murphy, even with him missing that tackle against Reed, has actually been playing a lot better. And then his best game was against Coastal. I thought, he had 12 tackles, 8 of them were solo, 2.5 tackles for loss. That's the type of player I think everyone envisioned when he was a recruit. Um, so there's a positive. He's getting better. I thought Fred Johnson played a good game, and Justin Onkoronko continues to play a good game. I thought the safeties tackled very well. Brian Thomas Jr. continues to be disruptive, and this is the defense shut him out, and defense didn't have Dylan Stewart. You know, Judge Collier rounding into form. Guys like Kelvin Hunter got in and played pretty well. So yeah, Christian Ingram, freshman defensive tackle, got a tackle. So I think Carolina's defense, and if you look at the stats this year, and I haven't totaled it up under like what the coastal total would be, but Carolina's given up about almost 100 yards more per game, especially rushing on the road this year than at home. Now, that said, Carolina's had more home games. They've gotten Coastal and SC State and Kentucky in there at home. The road games, have obviously been Mizzou and LSU. And by the way, LSU 13-10 over Western Kentucky. If that had happened to the Gamecocks, bad man, 13-10 win over Coastal, that would have not been positive at all, at all. But at least LSU won the game. And then Carolina went to Ole Miss and went to A&M. Ole Miss, A&M, and then Missouri with their starting quarterback. Not yesterday against Oklahoma, but most of the year that they're pretty good on offense. Um, so maybe the stats are skewed a little bit, but Carolina held Alabama under 400. They held Vanderbilt under 400 at home. Oklahoma was way under 400. Although Oklahoma had some things going early, and that's kind of what Clemson does too, what OU does. But it's a football thing, when your defense normally plays better at home because the crowd's into it, and the other team's discombobulated and can't communicate as well as they can at home. But there is a big difference in this defense at home versus on the road. And next week being a home game, it's got to be positive, right? Got to be a positive thing. Gamecocks did force one turnover. They lead the SEC in takeaways and are top 10 in the country with that. And you try to kind of, when you look at that, you go, how's this team 4-7? Well, we've talked about that all year. So the defense, no signs of let down or not being confident. Like I said, Sean Murphy led the way yesterday, and it's good to see him break out of, I don't want to say he was in his shell, but it's good to see him have a good game. That'll help his confidence moving forward. And he's always had talent, and he all three of the main linebackers plus Jerron Willis can come back next year. And then Carolina's got a boatload of those guys that redshirted at linebacker or that just played special teams. Donovan Darden is one of those. Back to the offense real quick. Really good to see Malik Clark and Mike Tyler get receptions yesterday. It's good to play. It's better when you get the box score, Mike Tyler with a nice little reception. True freshman from Hammond over there, a tight end. He's probably going to play a lot next year. And then Malik Clark from Rock Hill, big recruiting win. And, with the receivers, just hadn't been the opportunities. Jared Brown had a good game against his former team. And Beamer says because he's practiced well and happy for him. I think he's still a very explosive athlete and a really good player. But, receivers kind of been a revolving door a bit. And I think it's because the talent level there is, kind of even across the board. And some of the younger guys probably more talented and caught up to the older guys. And the Gamecocks did it without Nick Harbor as well. Nick Harbor was out, and they're confident or hopeful he'll play against Clemson, and certainly I mean, if he can do what he did against A&M, that's a big time. Yeah, against that secondary for the Tigers, that would be a big time weapon to deploy in that one. So both sides of the ball showed up and played really, really well. I thought for the Gamecocks yesterday in a 51-7 win over Coastal. So that's three games against Coastal, 70-10, 49-15, and 51-7. So, uh, despite some gnashing of teeth and concern about this one, and trust me, I'm not coming down on anybody. It didn't really hit me that the Gamecocks should blow these guys out until middle of the week. I was, reeling like you all were about A&M. Didn't really feel like looking at Coastal until middle of the week, and I did, and I was like, oh, they can't stop anybody. Um, and so the Gamecocks, and they do now. Beamer's right. I do want to say this: the defensive structure of Coastal, it's a little weird how you attack it, but there's certain ways you can, and the Gamecocks did that with success. I thought one of them is getting Lenore Sellers out of the pocket. You get Lenore out of the pocket, and you got an RPO run pass option thing on. That's always like money, unless they just blow it completely up in the backfield. I mean, because the defense is out there going, well, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? And oh, well, he's going to throw it. He's going to run it. There are a couple of those plays like a zone read or something. A couple of times, I think Lenore's probably didn't make. He handed it off one time when he probably should have kept it, and threw it one time. He probably should have kept it. But that's never handed it off. Yeah, one of those in particular, it was a little tiny pass that went to his brother for 2, 3 yards. Jaden fought his way out, but the running back hit the hole, and it was a good, decent fake. I mean, and he just goes into on your screen, you saw him go into the green. So I don't know, that's maybe ticky tack, and I'd have to slow it down and all that. But a really resurgent day for Lenore Sellers, and he looked, like I said, the whole game, he looked like himself. And again, it is Coastal, and they aren't very good on defense. South Carolina State's probably better, but you look back at the South Carolina State game, and I mean that just kind of set the tone for, oh my God, what's going on here for the whole season with the Shula offense. This is a different offense. I think they're running a lot of the plays they've run. But the formations, I mean, and it's stuff we've all said. We've all talked about it here on the show, on the Big Spurts. It's all the same. We've all been like, well, you college football, you do it out of different formations and stuff. And it's the same plays, though, because they're easy to learn. One time I saw offensive linemen lining up out wide and stuff. I mean, dude, dude, it was a nice creative game plan, aggressive, creative, and fun. Aggressive and creative and fun. So we'll see how it goes from here for the rest of this year and what the future holds. Regardless of whatever decisions made with offensive coordinator, I tend to think that it's best to just wait and see with another game left. You also don't want to get caught up in an emotional decision where a guy gets it based on a win and a couple of games called well, and then you get into the season next year, because that's a gamble. It's a calculated risk by the head coach because of the track record around here on offense. I think maybe it would be I think it'd be realistic with Furry, and I would love nothing more than to see like what he could do with his system. I think he does run a great, aggressive, creative, and fun, and he calls it pretty well too. I just don't know. People are going to start speculating about that, and there's one side of the fan base that wants to fire Shane Beamer right now. And like I've said, it's been a disappointing season, so you're going to have folks like that, and that's fine. I'm not. Like I said last week, I'm just not there to the point where blow it all up, where I think you got to blow it all up. I think that we've seen one thing these games have shown us is even with an interim play caller, if you have a better plan on offense, South Carolina has the players to go do some good stuff. But you got to put them in the right position. Same thing with the coaching the offensive line. You got to put those guys in the right position and not confuse them so much and all that good stuff. Although the O-line held up pretty well against Coastal, like I said, the penalties earlier were probably one that I was like, don't start doing this again, please, for the love of God. But I was relatively calm and happy with the game. I mean, Carolina took it to them from the beginning. Didn't understand. Well, didn't understand. My wife hates it when you go for too early. Beamer's done this a lot. They did it against Oklahoma last year. They did it against, oh gosh, Eastern Illinois' first game. Sometimes he'll just randomly go for too early for whatever reason. And they did, and it didn't work. So the wife hates that. So she was yelling at the TV at the time. But you know, I'm not saying I thought it was great. It could have been 52-7. And when you just lost a 1-point game, it's like, uh, yeah, the 37 would have looked better at 38. I didn't think Coastal had a chance of coming back, though. I mean, you can't short pass yourself back into a game when you're down by 37 and go on 15 play, 53-yard drives. We've seen that here, in Ole Miss, just long, slow drives. Maybe, looking back on it, it was maybe something they should have done with A&M. Anyway, but that's a big win. We'll have plenty of stuff this week. The morning show, obviously, going to start diving into Clemson. The show, it's Mad Dog Monday. No tailgate show this weekend. We did our last tailgate show for Coastal because I'm coming down. I'm going to be in town for Thanksgiving, first time since 19, see my mama. And then going to the Patrick Davis show, you can go on the Chief Sports app and get tickets to his Toys for Tots show. It's at the Senate in Columbia Friday nights. Always a big time, I hear. I'm finally getting to go. We're bringing the wife and stepkids down. Coffee this week. Pretty sure we'll have one through Wednesday. Maybe a Friday show if I can get my mom's internet connection going. I can pre-tape it. But, abbreviated schedule with Thanksgiving because all that. It's one of the drawbacks of the Clemson game being there. I will not be on the show or the preview show Wednesday and Friday. Just travel, stuff like that. Anyway, folks, hope you have a wonderful Monday. It's been a while, been a minute since the Gamecocks have won. So enjoy that. Enjoy this rivalry week and Thanksgiving and happy holidays and all that good stuff. This is JC Shurburtt's Coffee. I'm signing off. Have a great day, everyone. See you on the show.